and
Oddworld.
Hey oddballs, I'm your host Jensen and welcome to episode 5. Are you ready to learn about a piece of paranormal equipment? Because I've got one for you today. It is going to be an EMF meter. It's honestly used quite a bit in the paranormal community. It's like a basic bring that along too with your EVP recorder. So here's what it is. EMF meters, or electromagnetic field meters, measure fluctuations in electromagnetic fields. Theories from within the branch of paranormal investigations suggest that ghosts have the ability to manipulate these fields. An EMF meter is a staple piece of equipment used to detect sources of EMFs or possible manipulation in order to document and promote potential communication with these entities. So, the most common EMF that I can think of is the ones that are like the green and red lights. You know, if it's green, you're good. If it's red, something's there. Or if it starts like lighting up the different colors, you know, something is supposedly there. I shop at Ghost Stop for all my paranormal equipment. That's actually where I pulled this information from. And they have one of my favorite EMFs. It's called a K2 Deluxe, and it has like a sound alert too. That is one of my favorite ones so far. I'm not like sponsored by them or anything, but if I could be, you know, I wouldn't be opposed to it because they just have a ton of paranormal equipment. And if you're looking for an EMF meter, they have tons of different kinds. But just to have like a little basic one and maybe an EVP recorder with you, just so that way you can like have, you know, like two things of evidence. If you have an EVP that you captured and then you also have an EMF at the same time, I mean, that's kind of cool because you have two different types of devices that, you know, are recording these things. And so there is your paranormal evidence. But that is your lesson today on an EMF meter. I hope you guys learned a little something about an EMF meter, or as my family likes to say, evil motherfucker. Yeah. So anyhow, we're gonna go, you know, straight to stories as usual.
This comes from Zero Quiet Potato Zero on Reddit.
I wasn't quite sure where to post this, but I'm here to talk about a story that's happened to me a while back. Unfortunately, I have no video evidence of these events happening, but please consider some of the events that happened on this night. This story happened a few years back. I was in middle school at the time of this story. It was the evening, and the nighttime was soon approaching. My parents had left me alone in our house, which was built in 1915. And our landlord recently died, and she was about 100 years old. Maybe that fact could be the reason for all this happening. Not to mention, this is the only one example of many other unnerving events that has happened to us. I've stayed home alone plenty of times before, so this wasn't new. We said our temporary goodbyes as they walked out of the house to go do stuff for a few hours. I walked out of my room and sat on our couch in the living room and began watching TV. About 20 minutes into watching TV, I began hearing tapping behind me. Our couch is up against the wall, which divides the living room from my room. I immediately paused my show and pressed my ear up against the wall. I heard nothing else and just assumed it was me. I continued to watch my show when, shortly after that, I heard tapping and scratching on the wall again. I paused my show to listen to the tapping and scratching. However, once again, the tapping and scratching stopped. I'm not a fight or flight person. I'm a freeze kind of person, so when I heard the continuous tapping, I froze for a minute, trying to hear the sounds once more, but unfortunately, nothing. I brushed it off again, but I turned down the volume of the TV and continued to watch my show. About 5 minutes into the show, I heard banging behind me. I jumped up and paused the TV. I started shaking uncontrollably and stood by our front door confused about everything. I wanted to call my parents, but our couch seemed like a mile away and I couldn't find the courage to move. So for about 3 to 5 minutes, I just stood there scared. I was finally able to walk over to the hallway, and I tilted my head to look over to my door. My room was the first room on the right, among other rooms that followed. While I was peeking around the corner, still pretty far away from the hallway, I heard something heavy fall off my bed. Soon followed a huge thump. I used to sleep on a bunk bed, but this bunk bed had a desk under it, so it was just an elevated bed with a desk under it. It could have been many things that could have fallen, but this thump was different. I have a metal water bottle, a white 50/50 water bottle to be exact. So when it fell, it sounded like the floor could break. The only reason why I'm detailing the water bottle hitting the ground is because the amount of force you need to knock over the metal water bottle would take a lot. This shook me, and I ran to our kitchen and out the back door when I shut the screen door and tried to calm down. One of my neighbors so happened to walk by and gave me a, "I'm so confused why you're out here and shaking, but I won't ask" look, and just smiled at me and went on with his business. I walked into the house and prepared to walk around the kitchen door. By the kitchen door was my dad's golf club, and I took that. I rounded the corner and was faced with nothing. I held the golf club and just sat on a chair by our table until my parents came home. About an hour of just sitting at our table, watching YouTube on my dad's computer, I heard a buzz come from my phone that was still on the couch. I got up to check the notification to see it was a Ring notification. I brushed it off and took the computer off of the table to sit on the couch. Then I heard my phone go off again. And again. It kept buzzing, so I opened one of several notifications to see it was nothing. I just shrugged it off and thought it was the wind and watched YouTube on the TV. About an hour passed, and to my surprise, my mom called me to tell me both my parents are coming back home. I began to relax and nearly forgot about what happened not too long ago. I chilled on the couch when I heard knocking coming from our kitchen. I assumed it was my parents, but I would have clearly heard them come from the side door. I slowly got up and checked the kitchen to hear more knocking that became faint. I walked over to the hallway to see if it was coming from the bathroom, to hear more knocking. I was very creeped out and I decided to call my mom to ask how close they were, and they were about down the street. I raced to the back door and waited for them to arrive. About an hour and a half passed by and I was winding down on my bed. My bed is placed where my foot is pointing near my closet, which made me weary at times. I began to drift off to sleep when my leg began to shake and then my body shook, waking me up. I looked over to my room and found nothing out of the ordinary. I turned my TV on and watched TV for a bit to calm me down. Not too long after that, I heard walking on some leaves right outside my window. I didn't pay too much attention to it because I have neighbors that have stuff by my window, so I didn't really care. But I heard more tapping. It was pretty faint too, but since my window was right up by my ear, I heard some of it and started freaking out. I kept hearing tapping all night, and I'm not quite sure why. Can anybody help me? I'm not really sure why I kept hearing knocking and tapping that night. And I came here to seek for some sort of answer or theory. However, I just needed to get this off my chest. Okay, I am so torn with this one because when I was in middle school, it could go one of two ways. I would have either investigated it and just kind of been like this person and just not said anything, and just kind of try to keep calm and like nothing's going on. Or I could have called my parents and been like, yo, you need to come back because this is not okay and I'm scared and where are you guys at? Not something tapping on my freaking window as I'm saying this. I know that was just a bug, but yeah, that couldn't have been any more perfect timing. So anyhow, we're going to move on to the next story before I get too creeped out.
This comes from Time Is Not Real 16 on Reddit.
So this happened like 10 minutes ago and I'm still freaked the fuck out. I work in a movie theater. It's this big, very well-known theater in my city and really old. Creepy shit happens here all the time. I just went up to the movie hall I'm supposed to be opening. There's a screening in it soon. Well, I went up the stairs to the pitch black auditorium and looked around the room with my phone flashlight. It's literally pitch black, and me being afraid of the dark, I usually wait for people to be around, so I dare go in. Well, as usual, I took a good look around with my flashlight, and I saw, in the middle of the totally dark room, a white figure. Like a cloudy smudge. I really don't know how to explain it, but the moment I saw it, my heart dropped and I skedaddled out of there. It's like I felt it looking back at me. Also, it didn't really help me tripping on the stairs and falling, adding to the ghost chasing you in a horror film vibe. Also, I'm writing this while sitting with my back faced, right to the empty, dark hall. I think the adrenaline rush is taking over me, but I would love to hear some opinions on what the fuck that was and if I should do something or can I just peacefully go back in there in like a few minutes. I think maybe they could peacefully go back in now, but I don't know. I would go in, period, just because that's right up my alley. It probably would freak me out, but I think it'd be cool as shit at the same time. So, I don't know. What would you do? Leave a comment. And I think that's all I have today. So, it's an odd world after all.
Oddballs. Go follow us on It's an Odd World After All podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Also, give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If you have a story you would like to share, email us at it'sanoddworldafterall@gmail.com or message us on one of our social platforms. Don't forget to share us with your family and friends. And check out our website, it'sanoddworldafterall.com.